President Trump now suggesting he plans to continue renovating the Kennedy Center, despite a federal judge ruling the planned renovations must stop and his name must be removed. After the ruling last week, President Trump said he had no interest in continuing what could only be a hopeless journey into Never Never Land. Yesterday, the Kennedy Center's general counsel ordered staff to remove President Donald Trump's name from the building by June 12th, complying with the judge's ruling. Earlier today, the Trump administration was in court trying to get permission to continue with the ballroom construction. The DOJ argued that no court would have the power to order Trump to tear down the ballroom.
When did it become impossible for courts to stop this project?
I think it would have been improper to enjoin it even on day one.
So this is really something that can't be stopped in courts. It can only be stopped by Congress.
I think that's right.
All right, my panel is back. Elliot Williams.
Yes, that's ludicrous. I don't know what the question was, but I will tell you the answer is that is ludicrous. That is incorrect. It just, one can support the idea of the White House having a ballroom. It can be something that is a welcome addition to the East. Fine. However, the courts have the power to enjoin actions by Congress and the president. That is how our courts have worked from the beginning. That's not about the activism of courts or anything else. The idea that somehow the president has unilateral authority that cannot be checked by the federal courts it's just incorrect. And it's not, I'm not stating an opinion here. This is not a feeling or a vibe. That is simply how the separation of powers work in the country. That is incorrect.
So just to take this one step farther, the judge pressed the Trump administration lawyer about what would happen if they decided tomorrow that they wanted to bulldoze the Statue of Liberty. Here's what she asked and what the lawyer said back.
If the government decided to move very quickly and bulldoze the Statue of Liberty, the people whose ancestors, that was the first thing they saw coming to this country. But the government moved too fast. Nothing can be done.
I think that's right. Yes.
That is this is a fun exercise to have. That's the definition of what you would call a constitutional crisis, where one branch of government decides to do something that they wish to do. Perhaps they think it is in the public interest to bulldoze the Statue of Liberty. Okay, fine. That's what they want to do. Parties would sue and a court would tell them not to do it. And if they don't follow that court order, we are in a crisis as a nation. You have an obligation as the executive branch of the government to follow what courts say. I know this is, I'm sorry to go back to 10th grade history or 11th grade history here, but these are just such basic facts, and we're in the upside down right now, having to explain something so painfully simple that has become normalized in this country and is not healthy.
So that's the legal view that Elliot holds very strongly. I know he also, if we start to talk about the fact that the Kennedy Center was named as a memorial, he'll also get going on that. But since you're the historian that's sitting here, I'm going to give that one to you. It is Congress that named the Kennedy Center. And can you sort of speak to the historical significance of it and why that matters here?
Absolutely. So we don't name monuments or any of these things after living individuals. We certainly don't name them after living presidents. The way that the Kennedy Center was endowed was as a monument, essentially, to the cultural and the artistic benefits in honor of a deceased president, right? And the family has been very open about this. The family was among the first to speak out after the president decided he was going to put his name up. And I have to say that the courts, agreed with this. This is part and parcel of, how these things operate. But one thing I think that is worth pointing out here is that history hasn't, particularly modern history, hasn't had a way of really dealing with these ideas of constitutional crises because we've had good faith actors for so long. Even our, corrupt people, I mentioned Nixon earlier today, but even our corrupt actors still acted within the boundaries of relatively the Constitution. What Trump has decided, and what the Department of Justice, knowing, the lawyers from the Department of Justice, knowing the Constitution, they know the Constitution, they know the law, they have decided that they want a different reality, that they are fine kind of putting a constitutional crisis forward. And I think one of the things that happens with the Kennedy Center is Trump has decided he wants his name on it, and so his name will be on it. And so this is, part of what sparks the backlash is that the director instructs the staff to take down the name yesterday. And Trump says absolutely not. But then the other part is that it's very clear when you look at the construction of the ballroom and when you look at the construction of the security apparatus underneath the ballroom, that is a long-term plan and that Trump has no plans on stopping that, right? That it's going to go forward irrespective of what the Constitution or the law says.
Say one quick thing, and I don't throw the term crisis around lightly. I know we get into sort of crisis hysteria in this country, and of course not. We're not constantly in a state of crisis. But what was being described there of a branch of government deciding not to follow the orders of another one is literally the historical and legal textbook definition of a country in crisis. That's what happens when they don't follow each other.
Trump doesn't care at this point.
Why not?
And I think that the more we are in his administration, the longer he's serving as president, the more he does not care, and he only cares about himself. I truly believe that people within the White House seem to tell him, well, what will happen if you don't listen? What occurs?
Yeah.
You are the president. No one is going to tell you no. He has an expansive view of the presidency, and it's now reflected in how he is acting towards the courts. And I don't think that this is going to be the last time. I think that this is just the beginning of Trump not listening to the courts whenever they've made a decision.
There's a lot of threats not to listen to the courts, though. I mean, I don't want to alarm people unnecessarily about the president taking actions that actually haven't been taken yet. They've been threatened. They haven't been taken.
I think the president's a maximalist. He'll go as far as he can, but I don't think there's any evidence of him violating the court orders. But I think it'd be in the best interest of the country and for Republicans this midterms if the president focused on defeating Iran and beating back inflation. That would be great.
He doesn't care about the midterms. I don't know if you heard that.
On message,
I
Mark
don't know.
Short.
I don't know if you heard that, but to me it seems like Donald Trump not only does not care about the midterms, but he's actively sabotaging
I didn't say
it for
he
you
did. I
guys.
believe as long as he's not on the ballot, he doesn't care as much. But I'm telling you, it would be better interest for the country and for Republicans if his focus was there.
Mark has said a lot by not saying a lot. Let's put it that way, all right?
Well, you had said that you were going to grab a pickaxe to take Trump's name off of the building once he left the White House. I guess you will not be doing that. It's your reaction to this court decision.
It sounds like I won't be needing to because it's going to be done for me. But I thank all the people who offered to come and hold the ladder for me. But, imagine the Trump Lincoln Memorial or the Trump Washington Monument or the Trump Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Like all those, the Kennedy Center was established by Congress in 1964 as a national memorial to an assassinated president, John F. Kennedy, my uncle. And renaming it would effectively erase or diminish that memorial designation, a solemn act of national mourning and remembrance. So I think this is the right order from the judge. I'm incredibly grateful, and I'm looking forward to its return to its original name.
I wonder how you expect President Trump to be involved moving forward, because he did, as we heard moments ago, stress he is the chairman, and he talked about spending money to renovate the Kennedy Center and, to do some work on it. It is a big building. Of course, a big building does require maintenance, no doubt. But I wonder, since last week he signaled that he would transfer control of the Kennedy Center to Congress, saying that while he was being treated unfairly and he had no interest in continuing unless he was free to do what he wanted to do, how are you comparing kind of these two things that he's said, and what are you expecting out of it?
I mean, I think it's very difficult to predict what Trump will do or say at any moment because he flip-flops so often. But I do know this, the Kennedy Center's artistic mission is nonpartisan by design. And as a federally chartered institution, the Kennedy Center exists to serve all Americans through the arts, across party lines, across generations. And attaching a living politician's name to it, or even his day-to-day imprint on it, politicizes a cultural institution that has deliberately remained above the fray. So I don't think it should be renamed after the president, whose policies are inconsistent with millions of Americans and would undermine public trust in its independence and accessibility. By the same token, I don't think that he should be taking time out of his important work at the White House, stopping this crazy war in Iran to oversee the minutia of running the Kennedy Center. Let's leave that up to the experts and allow him to do the job that we elected him to do.